This is KGW News at noon.
We begin this noon with the presidential election and President-elect Biden's plans for the start of his term. He was called the winner of the election over the weekend after picking up Pennsylvania and crossing the 270 electoral vote threshold. Thank you for joining us at noon. I'm Nina Melhoff. The president-elect is revving up his transition team and says the pandemic will be their top priority. President Trump, meanwhile, is digging in and refusing to concede the election. NBC's Jay Gray reports from D.C.
As crews prepare the inaugural parade stage just outside the White House gates, President Trump continues to insist he should be the one standing there in January.
If you count the legal votes, I easily win.
He hasn't said anything publicly since late last week, but continues to make baseless claims to victory and of corruption and fraud in the election process on social media. His team now considering campaign-style rallies in areas where they are stepping up legal challenges, while even some of his closest allies are questioning the strategy.
If your basis for not conceding is that there was voter fraud, then show us. We can't back you blindly without evidence.
President-elect Joe Biden isn't waiting on evidence or a concession.
Our work begins with getting COVID under control.
Biden meeting today with doctors and scientists creating a COVID-19 task force and attack plan. With the virus spreading out of control, more than 100,000 new cases daily for the last week and climbing. We're also getting an idea of his goals for his first 100 days in office, which includes rejoining the Paris Climate Agreement and the World Health Organization. Also high on that list, trying to heal a divided nation. Crowds continue to gather in election hotspots, including just outside of the gates here in Black Lives Plaza, where protesters say they'll remain until President Trump is gone. Jay Gray, NBC News, the White House.
And new this noon, President Trump announcing he has fired Secretary of Defense Mark Esper. Esper and Trump previously clashed over the summer when Esper voiced concern about federal agents patrolling cities like Portland during our protests. He'll be replaced by Christopher Miller, the director of the National Counterterrorism Center. This is the president's first post-election personnel move. Speaking of the post-election period, what can we expect from both camps now that Joe Biden has been declared the winner? Our Morgan Romero has a little lesson in civics for us.
First, we should note, while Joe Biden was named president-elect, Alaska, Georgia, and North Carolina are still counting ballots. Because his lead was so slim in Georgia, its Secretary of State said there will be a recount there. We may not know the results of that recount until the end of this month. We can also expect other recounts in other states where the race was close, including Wisconsin. But according to a recent report by FairVote, recounts likely won't change the outcome. The election doesn't become official until states and Congress check off a number of important steps. States still have to certify results, and they have laws dictating different timelines. That gives states more time to tally up every vote, which is more helpful this year with so many mail-in ballots still trickling in many states. President Trump is actually fighting to disqualify those ballots in many states. His lawyers will head to court today to try to reverse the results of the election. They're filing several lawsuits in federal and state courts around the country and alleging fraud. Many trying to halt vote counting or disqualify ballots were already thrown out on lack of merit. And experts say other lawsuits, specifically over mail-in ballots in Pennsylvania, likely won't change the outcome of the race. Let's talk more about the process. Once those lawsuits move their way through the system and states then certify the votes, results then go to the Archivist of the United States. Then the Electoral College comes into play. State presidential electors hold a vote on December 14th. On January 6th, Congress will meet to officially count the electoral votes. Inauguration Day then comes 2 weeks later on January 20th. In the KGW newsroom, I'm Morgan Romero.
While half the country voted for President Trump, the other half held celebrations in Portland and around the country. Dozens joined a spontaneous party at Pioneer Square and called for unity and for the nation to come together.
I think there's going to be a lot of work to do, probably for the rest of my lifetime, to kind of fix what happened the last 4 years, but I'm really excited. This is a new day, and it's just really powerful that we get to move forward and have a bright future.
Those who support President Trump gathered in Salem and Vancouver, echoing his claims of election fraud. They also clashed with counter-protesters outside the state capitol in Salem. Oregon State Police say they arrested 4 people on charges ranging from assault to disorderly conduct. Meanwhile, a group vandalized the Multnomah County Democrats building last night. Police say the crowd marched from Laurelhurst Park to the building on Northeast Sandy in the Hollywood district. A dozen windows were broken and Antifa and anti-police symbols were spray painted. But they quickly left once police arrived. Officers arrested 3 people. Big news in the coronavirus fight this afternoon. Early data from drug maker Pfizer shows its COVID vaccine is 90% effective. Those results are some of the most promising so far in the race to develop a vaccine. One of the testing sites is the Kaiser Center for Health Research, right here in Portland. Meantime, case numbers continue to surge in Oregon. Yesterday, the state reported 874 new cases, following Saturday's record of 988. As you can see from this graph, the numbers have been spiking lately. As a result, new measures in 5 counties start this Wednesday. They will limit capacity to 50 people at places like restaurants and gyms and ask people to limit their social get-togethers to just your household or no more than 6 people. Visits at long-term care facilities will also be paused.
The virus can very quickly snowball out of control. We're seeing that in real time, and certainly lives are at stake.
The restrictions affect 5 counties for now, so Multnomah, Malheur, Marion, Jackson, and Umatilla counties will have those restrictions go in place on Wednesday. They'll last at least 2 weeks, that's through November 25th. Oregon now has more than 50,000 total cases, while the nationwide total has topped 10 million. A wild night on the roads and bridges of Portland after police say street racers took over large parts of the city. More than 400 cars were out at Airport Way and 122nd last night. At one point, they also took over the top decks of the Fremont and Interstate bridges. Officers arrested 14 people and towed 16 cars. At least 3 crashes were connected to this. This video is from Saturday night at MLK and Columbia Boulevard. Thankfully, nobody was hurt in all this.